Hi, I'm Eileen Roche, and I'd like to welcome you to today's episode of Between Friends. If this is your first time here, I'm the co-founder of Dime, and I'm a longtime machine embroiderer. Today, our topic is meaningful applique. You're probably wondering, what is meaningful applique? Well, it's applique fabric that had life before it was cut up to be used as applique. You know, as children go, it's often hard to pack away their tiny onesies, jumpers, and rompers. Everything you learn here today, though, is not limited to repurposing children's clothing. You can apply the same principle to other cherished clothing worn by family members of all ages. It's a way to keep them close to your heart. And today we'll repurpose those cherished articles of clothing, and we'll start by evaluating the worn items. We'll learn how to prep them and then transform them into something you'll love forever. Now, if you've been spending any time on social media, you've probably seen the popular mama sweatshirts, right? So let's take a look at the overhead cam, and here we have one in process. And as you can see, it's mama, right? With the big M and the A, right? It's split. So it could be a little difficult to read, but if you spend a moment and then the children's names, the two children in the center in script, just adorable. And you're seeing that in a lot of different places. Well, we'll come back to that in a minute. But before we do, I want to call out to you that Ashley Jones, she's our software specialist, and she taught how to use true type fonts to create this popular split applique for mama in her recent software success. She went over all the steps, and let's take a look so that you know which you can find this video easily on YouTube or Facebook, and that was her promo. So when you see that, you can watch her learn how to do that with your software. So when I was making my sweatshirt here at Dime, I learned just how helpful our hoop and press pads are for applique, and you're in luck because they're on sale this week. So let's take a look at this video to learn a little bit more about them. There are so many tasks that you will reach for a hoop and press pad for when you are doing lots of different in the hoop tasks. And today I'm going to show you 3 different projects that I was quite dependent on the hoop and press pads for. And they all feature this meaningful applique. So let's go over and take a look at that sweatshirt. Of course, this is how we would start, right? And you've seen us, print a template on our print and stick target template paper and use our centering templates to make sure that we land it in the proper position on the center chest. Now for the applique fabric, I used this cotton swatch. So I make my grandchildren crib sheets, and I just buy 2 yards of cotton fabric, the regular quilting cottons that we love. And so that's 72 inches in length, and it's 45 inches, about 44 inches wide. And then you cut off an 8-inch corner out of all 4 corners of that long length of fabric. And then I just serge elastic around the edges, after you miter the corners and so forth. It's a fast project. But anyway, I always have 4 8-inch swatches left from those crib sheets. And I've been saving them just for this reason. So I thought this was a nice, delicate print that would look really good in that mama applique. So of course, we did stitch one out, and I'll bring that over so that you can get a good look at it. Of course, it's still in the hoop, so bear with me a minute while I open up that, kind of nest the garment over so you can see. So I used really subtle thread because I wanted tone on tone. We have to be careful about advertising children's names, in public. But I thought if it was tone on tone, my daughter would probably, definitely wear it around the house in her neighborhood. But isn't that pretty? And that is that same print. Now, what happened to that swatch? Where did I toss that to? Here it is. When it is here, this looks like a tiny print, right? But when you cut that up, you really I have a lot of white space, right? So it's okay for this application, but something that was a little tighter print may have been a better choice for this mama shirt. But my daughter, she won't mind. She'll wear it. She'll love it. Okay, so now we just finished this, and now it's time to press this applique. And, we don't often like to press embroidery from the right side because we don't want to crush those satin stitches. But I had applied Fuse Me to the wrong side of my applique fabric, right? So this is the protective paper, and this has an adhesive on it, right? It's like a fusible web. And so when I apply that to the shirt and do the tack down, I then trim away the excess applique fabric, do the satin, and now I want to fuse this permanently in place, right? So the best way to do that is really from the wrong side, and I'm going to do it while it's still hooped. So I'm going to turn this over. We have to be careful, right? We don't want to dislodge it, although the embroidery is complete. And I'm going to position this so on my totally tubular station, and I am opening up that hem. And maybe we get a side cam so you can see exactly what I'm doing. I'm going to put that hoop and press pad. Now we have a grippy side, right? That's going to be a non-slip surface. And then the wool side is what I want next to my embroidery. So now I'm just going to open up, I have the ribbing on there, so it wants to catch a little bit. And now I'll slide this over the board. I want to make sure that my attachment is off the edge, right? Because a monster snap hoop is skinny, right? It's nice and skinny, which we love. So now I am ready to press this from the wrong side. And if you remember, right, my hoop and press pad is underneath there. And let me make sure it's right. Oh, it's extending off a little bit. So there we go. Now we're nice and flat. And I'm just going to take my time and press this. And now I know that my applique fabric is permanently attached to my host fabric, my sweatshirt. And that's really important because when we do the laundering, when we wear the garment and then throw it in the wash and the dryer, we don't want it to separate, right? So now it's permanently attached. So, oh, beautiful. And my hoop and press pad made that so easy. So now we'll take this off the board and we can flip that around and you can, we'll undress it. But now that you've seen just how beautiful that is, maybe you'll want to do a mama sweatshirt for somebody in your world. Now, that was cotton fabric, but often children's clothing that we love is knit fabric, right? So let me move all this apparatus out of harm's way, and I'm going to show you some onesies that are just our favorites, right? They're just our favorites, and we have a couple projects to show you. So let's see. Now, these prints are really nice and tiny, right? And here I have a little boy's one that is lots of stripes. The thing with stripes that's so fun is they don't have to go horizontal. You can, even though that's how they're worn, right? That's how they were designed, but you could cut out applique that would go in a different direction. So here, let me show you what I mean. Here I have a print and stick template paper template. And so I most certainly could line that up perfectly with those stripes, right? I'm aligning that edge. of the letter of the number 2 with that stripe, or I could have a little fun and turn it this way. Make it, really exaggerated so that it stitches in this manner, but we'll play with that. First, we have to prep the fabric. But you do need to examine the garment and make sure there aren't any stains on it. Often on onesies, you might have some maybe damage to this area, permanent staining that's like brown or gray. And so you can just work around that. There's a lot of fabric in a onesie, once it's cut open, right? And, just take your time to examine it and decide what you want. Then we want to remove a bit of the stretch, right? It's still a little stretchy, but not as stretchy as here. So using an applique fabric that is this stretchy is quite challenging. Just imagine the needle, the embroidery foot's going to want to travel across that knit and snowplow, right? And that's how you get puckers inside your applique. So in this case, I am using our Fuse So Soft, which is that really lovely tricot knit interfacing, right? Look at the hand of that. It's so nice and soft. And we often use this to cover the wrong side of embroidery for children's garments. But it too is a 4-way stretch. So when we see the stretch this way, not too bad. This way, it's quite stretchy. So we're going to place the least amount of stretch in the same direction as the most amount of stretch on the garment. And that will give you a fairly stable fabric, enough for applique. So how do we get started? Well, we're going to take a pair of scissors and we're going to cut right into this onesie. This is all still one piece, right? Now, this doesn't really have any stains on it, none at all. So I'm going to go right at the side seam and just go. And I kind of leave the sleeves intact because you just never know what you might use them for later. Maybe a smaller project. If they have a hem treatment, they could maybe be used in some other decorative manner. But, if it's just a onesie, right? So they're not quite a valuable garment, but they might have fond memories, that just warm your heart. And you don't want to pass it on or you don't want to toss it out. So there we have it. Okay, now you can see all that stretch, right? So we're going to take our Fuse So Soft. First, we're going to place that, cover my hoop mat. And now I got to find that stretch, right? Okay, here's the super stretch. So I wanted the least amount of stretch to be on here. Now, I think my iron is probably too hot because we have a tendency here at Dime to use really hot irons and always use a really hot iron when we're on Facebook Live so that it melts and all of that, right? Now, normally, if I were home, I would have a cotton press cloth that I would use to cover my tricot knit interfacing. So I'm just going to try and see if I can still get some heat through this without damaging the fabric instead of waiting for it to cool down. And it doesn't take long. It's just kind of a quick press and it's permanently sealed. And remember, this is applique, right? So it's not like you're going to be wearing that. Yep, that's fused in place. Next up, now we have to apply some webbing, right? And I like to use our Fuse Me because it's like whisper weight. It's so nice and lightweight. And depending on how big of a design you're going to do, I'm just going to do this too. So even this piece is generous. It's more than I need. But if you're, you most certainly could make a bigger piece of Fuse Me and just cover the entire area. All right. So we'll just kind of run our iron over that pretty quickly. And it doesn't need much. It doesn't need much. And we'll get this roll of Fuse So Soft out of the way. Now we like to peel that when it's a little cool. And I'll just kind of start that corner and you can see, let's see if you can see how shiny that is now. Does it look a little bit more shiny than this area? It does. So you know that your adhesive is successfully adhered to your tricot knit interfacing. So we're set there, okay? And of course, I have already started a couple projects. I'm not going to make you wait and watch me go through the whole process. But I thought, instead of the mama sweatshirt, I mean, or in addition to the mama sweatshirt, how about a growth chart? Because, you know, the children can't stand up, right, for quite a while. So I came up with this growth chart that I just digitized myself. So let's take a look here. Here's our kind of striped onesie, right? And you can see I changed the direction of that too. These satin columns are 1 inch apart. So this is 6 inches. And then we go, you know, to 1 foot and then 6 inches. And here I have the 3 started. So let me get my iron out of the way. And I just want to show you this process, right? So I used a different onesie that coordinates. It has footballs on it. So this is not for, well, anybody can play football, I guess, but this is intended for a grandson, not a granddaughter. Okay, so I've already started. Here you can see I most certainly have my Fuse So Soft in place, and I have my Fuse Me in place. So now I'm just going to trim this away, and then I'm going to get my my hoop and press pad and put it in the center. Now, when I trim applique, I lift my applique away from the base fabric and I just start slicing as close to that tack down as possible. Sometimes in these tiny areas, it can get a little tricky. So sometimes I just snip right into it and then work around, you know, piece by piece. And if you are doing, let's say, the letter 4, I often would put that letter 4, here, I'm just going to divert a little bit here. I would put that here and cut this out first before I applied it to my base fabric. That way, I don't have to trim that out. I don't have to trim, you know, I could pre-trim everything, right? But just having an opening in that, even if you just cut a slit, that will make it much easier to trim later on. So now I'm ready to fuse this in place, and I want to do that now. So I'm going to turn it upside down and get my hoop and press pad. Where's my giant hoop and press pad? Here it is, all the way over here. And, you know, it's big, right? Because it's a big hoop. This is the 9.5 by 14. And I want to brag a little bit. Can I brag a little bit? Look at that alignment from the first block, right? Number 2. And then we come up, and this is the basting file that goes all the way around. And look how it is right on there. I am so impressed with myself. I love it. That's what the use of templates does. I'll tell you, we have all these really sophisticated machine features, but if you just do it the old school way, it works. Okay, so I have my hoop and press pad in place. I'm going to flip it over. And I think I just hit the camera. Uh-oh. Okay, I can see my 3. It's right here, right? So I'm just going to press, and now I'm probably don't have enough heat to get through that batting. But it's just so nice to do this because now when I do apply the satin stitch, I don't have to worry about any snow plowing, right? Because that's what makes our embroidery look so unprofessional. Here you could see that too. And this is the knit fabric from the onesie. I did the same technique as I just showed you on the 3 by pressing it at this stage. And then when that satin cover finishes those edges, there is absolutely no snow plowing. So I will go on and do a 4, and probably on this fabric, I'll be able to fit that. And then I'll just piece it to another, to 5 and 6. And won't that be a fun quilt hanging that they can use, and they can take a Sharpie and write in the date and the name, and oh, so much fun. Okay, so that's a fun idea for meaningful applique. And another fun idea is an in the hoop project. So this one is a project from Remo Coxon in our In the Hoop software. So much fun, right? That new software. So let's take a look. This is a door hanger, and I used two different fabrics here. So our onesie is this tiny little print, this little floral print. It's really sweet. Has a pink little dot in the center, as you can see, is the flower center. And it just so happens that my granddaughter's room is decorated in navy and pink. And I had a scrap of the pink gingham that I used for her dust ruffle. So I applied that to this, to the door hanging, so that, so that you could see the words. Because if I tried to stitch, the term baby sleeping on my busy fabric, you'd never see it. So I went with this pink gingham and then selected that navy thread so that it would really pop. So right now I have already quilted. It's part of the design, quilting, and we have that sew any shape foam underneath, and I've trimmed it all away. And the next thing I'm supposed to do now is add the back piece. And that is going to require me to pin or tape this piece, this next piece. So I don't need to use Fuse Me on this. I'm going to trim this down because we don't need this big of a piece. And I just make sure that I'm covering the whole door hanger. Now, I will tell you that knit fabric is a little thicker, right, than the cotton quilting fabric that we often use. But, this is what the children wear, right? So now I want to make sure that I tape this in place and it's nice and secure. So when I go to the machine and stitch the tack down of this fabric to the back, and then I'll remove it from the machine one last time, and I will trim away from the back the fabric and then attach it one more time, and we'll have a really nice door hanging. And I'll probably, see, this is a good example of, oops, it's time to trim down that fabric because there's no space for my tape, right? So let's get rid of that piece of tape. And I'm going to trim this down a little bit more so I have some room for my tape, because that's really important. And there we go. Be generous with your tape, because this is when in the hoop projects can get, the fabric can fold back and then you stitch it on itself. You're not aware that it's folded back. Anyway, this is secured. And when I go to the machine, the next thing it'll do is stitch around the perimeter. I'll take it off the machine, trim that excess, reapply it to the machine, reattach, and stitch that satin outline, probably in navy or pink. So isn't that fun? There's so many different reasons to use those hoop and press pads, I can tell you. And one last one, of course, that we all love is to use it for mistakes, and they happen, or for fringe, right? So here we have some fringe flowers that need to be released. So we're going to flip that over, and I'm going to turn on my stitch ripper, and I just start to release that bobbin thread. Oh my gosh, this is work that would take several minutes, right? I would be here with a seam ripper, maybe sharp little scissors, and trying to snip away those bobbin threads. But my goodness, when you have that stitch ripper, it is fast, fast work. I'll turn that off and flip it back over so you can see just how quick they are coming up. Where did I do that? On the inside. Here we go. So let me get my, I like my little, well, that's gone. Okay. So, I like my little bamboo stick. And look how that is just fringing right up. It is so nice, so fast. And of course, I would just take, another minute to release all those bobbin threads so that we get those really luscious flowers, and so nice. Look at that. I love it. Okay. Hoop and press pads. These were invented by Eileen Roche of the Embroidery Garden. We love teaming up with Eileen Roche. She does such a fabulous job for us. And she was brilliant in coming up with this hoop and press pad. And why did she invent it? Well, she is the queen of in the hoop embroidery. And during all of her classes that she taught, she saw that people really struggled when having to flip the hoop over and adding fabric on the backside, or when adding zippers. Any kind of task that makes you take the hoop off the machine and work on just stabilizer can be really tricky. So she thought that a wool felt pad that was the same height as the hoop was the way to go. And of course, we do make them for the standard hoops, and now we make them for Snap Hoop Monster, which is my favorite hoop, right? That's pretty much all I use. So you'll find that they are indispensable in your sewing room. They are truly indispensable. So I hope that you will take an opportunity to kind of look at maybe some of the garments in your home that maybe they're ready to go to pass on to another family member, or you're going to take them to a thrift store, or even, maybe you feel that they should just go in the trash because they are soiled in some areas. Well, look again at them, and you may find that they are a great candidate to become meaningful applique. So this week we have a special design for you, but Ashley Jones is going to be back on, she's going to be back pretty soon. But first, we want you to make sure you take advantage of the hoop and press pad sale. Use that 75 ship free, and you'll get free shipping. And remember, we make them for every monster hoop that we make. We have a coordinating hoop and press pad, and they all come with the stable clips. Now, the stable clips, as you saw in that video earlier, you use to hoop stabilizer only in a Snap Hoop Monster, and it makes it super easy. And then, of course, you remove them once the top frame is in place. But you can take a look at that video again to see how easy they are to use. We love them. So Ashley's going to be back on March 18th in Software Success. That's Tuesday. She's on the first and third Tuesday of the month. I'll be here next week. But in the meantime, we do have a On the House coming up. My guest next week is Dawn Chase from a Creative Applique. So we're excited to work with her. We're going to do a little bit more of applique, I imagine. So 2 weeks of applique. You can't learn enough about applique, I'll tell you. I know I can't. I'm always learning. So when you subscribe to Facebook, or you subscribe to our YouTube channel, or like us on Facebook, that tells us you like what we're doing here. And we need that reinsurance to know that we're giving you the educational material that helps you become a better embroiderer. And we would love to see what you're doing. So please share your projects. Use these hashtags, Dime Sew Along, On the House, or Exquisite Thread, and we'll find them. And then we'll post them and share with all of you. To find our free On the House design, you just go to dzgns.com, click on Embroidery, and scroll down to find free designs. And all of our free designs are there. We keep them up for the whole year, so we hope you'll take advantage. This week is an applique design. Go figure, right? And it's intended for a kitchen towel, and it's Mom's Diner, kind of a doo-wop feel, right? And it's not open 24 hours. Mom's Diner, not 24 hours. So I hope that your family members, whoever you share your kitchen with, will get the hint and know that when the kitchen is clean in the evening, it's closed. Well, until next week, I hope that you'll take advantage of the special that we have on the hoop and press pads. And thank you for joining me today. I look forward to being with you again next week.